And hello, you gorgeous specimens! Today, we are making a Father's Day card. So what you'll need for this is 2 pieces of thicker cardstock. These are from my sketchbook. I think they're about 220 grams. And they can handle water being put onto them without warping, which is what I want. But obviously, depending on the medium you use, you may want to use something a little different. And for the rest, I need a pencil. That's not a pencil, that's an eraser. My watercolor pencils, and a watercolor pen, and obviously a pair of scissors. Well, I say obviously, but you'll need a pair of scissors. And along with that, you'll need a glue stick. And then over and above that, just a simple piece of printing paper. We'll get to why very soon. Alright, now of these 2 pieces of paper, I'm going to choose the one that doesn't have too much of the glue binding on the end, which in this case is this one. There is a little bit, but that'll be on the back of the card. This is going to be a pretty big card because the sheet is A3, the card is going to be A4 sized. You want to meet the corners. Once they are there, flatten the edge. If you want a neat finished off edge, just use your nails to pinch and run along the seam. But for now, why is this dusty? I wiped this. Alright. That is ready. But before we can do anything, we need to put all the elements together. I've got this really tiny side plate. Let me check if that works. Turn it over so I can use the circle. Just make sure that you draw it in the right place. The opening of the card is on this side. Now, where's my pencil? The perfect plate shape. Imagine a plate being the perfect plate shape. I'm looking for that little center bit of the plate. I feel that'll work. There we go. Now for this, because it's a plate, we're going to need a little bit of gray. Just to give it enough shading so that we can see that there's some depth to it. Now the next important part, and you can choose to do this either flat or you can cut out the letters, is write Happy Father's Day. Where is my ruler? I want a bit of a round shape to work off of. That's going to echo the shape that I've just drawn. So I'm going to draw a light line. Alright, so now Happy Fathers. And then the day will come underneath. Just neaten this up and make it a bit darker. Before I go in, I'm just going to write the word. Okay, I know that looks a bit dodgy, but don't worry, it'll make sense soon. Now that I know that the sizing is good, I can go in. So I'm going to meet where the letters are, the S and the H, and draw a tiny little line underneath. And now for the word day, we can make it a bit of a fancier font. I prefer using the big sharpen hole because it doesn't remove as much of the wood. And let me get coloring. Day for day. That's what I'm going to do. Use a dark blue. For this next portion, you're going to use the watercolor brush. You do also need a little bit of toilet paper because if you don't wipe the nib off, you're going to end up having mixed colors and nobody wants that. This is always the most satisfying part. And remember, this card is for kids to be making, but I suppose you as an adult can also make a card if you want. But don't put your kids in front of this video and be like, here, do this thing, watching this YouTube person. No, as a mother, what you should do is you should watch this video and then you should go and sit with your kids and do this craft. It's good on so many levels. It'll encourage them to be inspired creatively, and also it works on your fine motor skills and coordination because it involves cutting and gluing and doing all sorts of exciting things. Do with that information what you will. I think let's just go around the plate. Okay, we can just let that dry off before we do anything more here and move on to the next step. So with this other piece of card, what I'm going to do is just to tell you. So I've got a plate, all right, and this plate is going to need something on it. So my husband, or rather, well, he's my husband, but he's a great father. Absolutely amazing. And he loves breakfast as much as I do. So I was thinking 2 pieces of toast with eggs on and a smiley piece of bacon. That we don't overshoot, I think. We need to make sure that we know how big to make the toast. I think if we make the toast 7 centimeters wide, 7 and 7 roughly. Toast, if we want people to know exactly what it is that we're drawing, I'm going to give it little rounded tops and then come in. We need the eggs to fit the toast, but not to overshadow it. If we work with about 5 centimeters, what I'm going to do is draw 2 blocks that are both 5 centimeters. In the middle, I'm going to draw a yolk and then draw the egg shape, but not deviate too much from the 5 centimeter by 5 centimeter block. And lastly, the bacon. Nice piece of bacon. But we want it to follow the shape of the plate. So I'm just going to draw a rough outline. And I know I'm drawing the smile upside down, but it is what it is. Alright, so for the toast, I'm going to use brown, a dark brown first. Then I'm going to go in with this slightly lighter brown that has a bit more of a warm tone to it. Now for the inside portion of the toast, very, very lightly. Okay, and now onto the egg. Eggs are white on the outside and yellow on the inside. Now I'm leaving this little portion white. Because yolks sometimes have a little bit of an orange hue, I'm just going to use this darker yellow ochre. Then I'm going to go in with the grey for our shadow. The yolk will create a tiny shadow. Then another thing that eggs have, sometimes, not all the time, but it's that crispy outer bit. And then for the bacon, because bacon is like a pinky red, I'm going to get red and pink. And a bit of brown, that warm brown that we used earlier. Don't let it fool ya. Okay, now for this part, because everything is dry, kind of, we'll go in with this case, a 0.8mm fine liner. It has warped a little bit, but oh well. Cut it out. We're going to need this piece of paper, so don't get rid of it. Now for the inside of the card. We're not quite done with the outside yet, but we will be soon enough. Where is this ruler? Can we have that conversation? We want to make a little pouch on the inside. So I think 10 centimeters is good. I'm going to use the edge of the paper and I'm just going to mark it. Okay, because I know that's a flat edge. Then set the ruler nice and square along the paper and mark 10 centimeters down. Doesn't necessarily matter if it's not perfectly squared off. Just make sure that the two squarest edges, or the most square edges at the top, we're going to create a little pocket. And how we're going to do that is we're going to measure 1 centimeter in. Cut. See where these little squares are? Well, technically, let me just close this one off so you can see what I mean. So this is the top edge, all right? In the bottom corners, you just want to give it a good trim. We want to fold these sections. If you're not certain about how straight you're going to fold, you can use your ruler just to tack it a little bit. And what you can do is cut one of the triangle corners off or cut in. There we go. Now I'm going to use my glue stick. Actually, you want to cut both. So before we do the gluing, you want to cut off the triangle at a 90-degree angle. Then fold it in. Then just on the inside of the one that has the angle, fold your papers in and hold on to that for a little while so that it settles. If you don't want to sit holding it, you can put something heavy on it, which is exactly what I'm going to do if I could find something heavy. Okay, now that our little pocket is stuck together, we can put glue on the back and put it inside our card. On this side. Unfortunately, because the paper was a little thick, I should have probably used more industrial strength glue, but this is for kids to do, so you can either use paper that is a lesser grammage or just do what I'm doing now. Keep that down for a while. For the most important part, the message. And while I understand that it may not be the squarest or most in line, isn't that the charm of something homemade? And while we wait for this to continue drying and sticking properly, we'll do the front. I suggest getting the positioning where you want it first. It's alright if there's a bit of overlap. That paper I spoke of earlier, the normal 80-gram print paper, you want to make a few strips of paper. So we don't necessarily need a ruler for that. You can just cut them the size that would be suitable. You want to take these two pieces of paper and put them at 90 degrees to one another. We're going to put a bit of glue on this end and stick this one down. Now this will be hidden, so let's just make sure that it's not entirely skew. Okay, I guess that's fine. You want to pinch this area where the two are glued together. This is where the lip is of this one. And you want to fold over the paper. And then as soon as you can see that there's this little gap here, you want to fold the next piece of paper over. I'm happy with where that is. So I'm going to cut, but only after I've glued. If you want to make this section a little easier for yourself, you can get double-sided tape. Now we want to make 4 of these. Now to put all the pieces together. These little bendy things we made underneath, 1 egg. On the bacon, we're going to use the other 2. And once that's stuck on the back, then you're going to put a bit of glue on the other end and stick it onto your toast. And it gives us this pretty cool 3D effect, or rather 2D effect. Then let that dry. And now going back to that piece of cardstock that we have, because we measured 10 by 10, we're going to go in a little bit, and I'm just going to draw some rectangles that'll fit inside here. Although this does look a little narrower, it's alright. If you want to get them the same size, you can just lay them on top of one another and trim off the bit that doesn't match. And now that we've got these two the same, we can fold in the middle. This is just to get an idea of where we're going to cut. So meet the ends and pinch the top and bottom. Now what that's done is it's given us a point. If I could see in this light. Okay, now you've got 4 little cards. And what you do with them is up to you. What I'm going to do is make little vouchers. So you can decorate these if you want, with color or without. Okay, and we're going to finish off the inside of the card, and like I said, you're more than welcome to go wild and decorate and draw some exciting things, you know, to spice it up, but I'm not going to put those ideas of mine down because you want to encourage creativity and, you know, just going with what you feel inspired by. And let that dry. This is A3 project paper that I folded in half to make an A4. And along with this, I have 2 pieces of glittery craft foam that have an adhesive back, and 1 piece of shiny craft paper, gold. It's quite a thick cardstock. And along with that, I've cut out some letters on my Cricut, holographic, and I have some tiny decorations I got off of one of those websites. Alright, let's get started. So I think getting an idea of where the lettering is going to go is very important. And when you're happy with the position, then we can stick it down. I would suggest if children are doing this, which they should be, then you'd want to use something that's non-toxic. I, however, I'm going to go in with adult glue. Okay, now that that's stuck on there, I know it's not exactly straight, but character, you know. The next shape is going to be the most important one, and the reason for that is we want to put a cupcake on here, because what dads don't like cupcakes. So on the back of this one, I'm going to draw the shape of a cup that comes with a cupcake. I don't know if that's big enough. So let's scale it up a little and then check the sizing. And that's definitely better. Using our scissors, we're going to cut. Then this is going to be the cupcake portion. So once again, turn it around, and because we'll be putting it the other way, we want to make sure that just in case the shape is a little bit skew, that we're not going to miss the cupcake. Maybe we should make it like a muffin and have it bulging over the top a little bit. It doesn't matter how terrible the drawing looks at the back, because we're not going to see it. And we'll cut the rough shape out, and then if we need to do any fixing, we can always trim a little off. Much better. And then last but certainly not least, the frosting. So for the frosting, we're going to do pretty much what we did before, but we're only going to use the top portion. Put that face down, and what we want is to draw the shape so that we know, but not the whole shape. You can bring it down a little bit so you don't waste material. Just gonna put a little bit of frosting on top. And then, oh, I'm not being harassed by a bug. You can make it a little bit poofier up the top so that there's an overlap. And then remember, frosting has drip marks and squiggles, and it's usually higher or more raised than the cupcake. So I think that looks good. And there we have it. Let's put it on the cards. We'll start with the cupcake base. Then we'll use some glue to stick the cupcake portion on. So we'll line it up before we put it down. And go. Now for the frosting. Sticky. And there we go. Time to decorate. This might be a little tricky because they're very small. But what you can do is ask, which should be the person watching this video, to help. Use adult glue. And there we go. A beautiful card, all ready and waiting for you to put your special message inside. Now I must put all the stuff away. And last but not least,